What's up, everyone? Chris Cebollero here, co-host of the Inside EMS podcast. I wanted to take a few minutes to overview the high points of being a servant leader. You know, there are many different types of leadership styles that are out there, and to be a good leader, you really need to have a palette of all these leadership styles in your leadership toolbox. But at the core of everything you do, you must have a foundation of service. That's why servant leadership is a good style to be coming from as a foundation. Remember, to lead, you have to be able to serve. But before I get started, I wanted to be able to remind you the meaning of the word leadership. It's all about your ability to influence. If you can't influence people, you can't lead people. The word leadership is a verb. It's an action. It's not a noun. It doesn't relate to your position, or it doesn't relate to any of your achievements. You've got to be able to show leadership every single day. Now, with that, let's go ahead and talk about the 10 components of servant leadership. First, you need to be able to be an empathetic leader. You need to be able to understand where your employees are coming from and how to ensure that you're doing the best for them with their challenges that they're having. This comes with number 2, is you need to be able to be an active listener. One of the things that I've taught leaders for a lot of years is to stop listening to the words that people are saying, and instead start listening to the feelings, start listening to their emotions, because when you hear their emotions, you'll be able to understand their words. Next, and I feel this is one of the most important leadership characteristics, is you need to be able to have good self-awareness. Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you act or trigger when these things happen? And if you don't understand that, you're never going to be able to get over the hump of being an okay leader to being a great leader. Next, you need to be able to practice healing. Inside an organization, there are people who are lost from the mission of the organization. It may be because you gave them corrective action. It may be because they don't feel like they're part of the team. As a servant leader, you've got to do everything you can to ensure that we're bringing these people back into the fold of the community. We don't want them lost inside our own organization. This is where toxic feelings start to raise. This is where mistrust is going to be breeded. So you need to be able to heal the people that feel that they've been lost in the organization. Next, you need to have good conceptualization and develop a vision for the organization. When we think about a vision, this is where the organization is going, and this is what people need to picture. If you don't know your vision statement as a leader, why does your workforce need to know what the vision of the organization is? We are wired to think in pictures, and in the absence of a vision, we have no idea where we're going. Next, you need to be able to persuade people and not demand from people. Remember that the days of command and control and leading from a position of authority are over. We need to be able to use our art of persuasion to get people on the bandwagon and to do the things that we need them to do. Next is you need to have good foresight. You know, one of the bad things about EMS is it seems that we're very reactionary. What we have to be able to do is turn those tables and now start to be anticipatory. What do we want to see in our career field? What do we think is going to happen in the next year, 3 years, 5 years? And how do we get there? Rather than waiting for things to happen, let's create the things that need to happen. Next is you need to be able to have good stewardship. What is your responsibility to leaving your career field better than it was when you showed up? There's a lot of pioneering left to do in EMS. Modern day EMS isn't 60 years old yet, and there's a lot of us to do. So how will you leave your career field? How will you leave your position better than when you found it? Next is you want to be able to build a sense of community. We invited these people into our organizations to help us be successful. I want to say that again. We invited the people into our organization to help us be successful. We need to be able to treat them as the important people that they are, the only resource inside an agency that will increase in value. Ambulances depreciate, cardiac monitors depreciate. Your workforce will appreciate in value, grow them, and make sure that they're on the right path. And then finally, number 10 of the elements of servant leadership, you need to be able to be committed to the growth of other people. When people come to us, they have some skills, they have some knowledge, they have some ability, but I'm not hiring you for what you did in the past. I'm hiring you for what you're going to do for me and the organization in the future. And I've got to be able to take you from point A to point B and help you grow to the next level. So servant leadership doesn't happen overnight. So you need to be able to grow the elements of servant leadership throughout your career. This is part of your professional development journey. But there are things that you can do now that will help you on the path to becoming a servant leader. And I want to list just a couple of these for you. Number one is you need to be able to think of other people before yourself. I got to tell you, back in the old days when I was a younger leader, this was all about me. And I'm going to talk about ego here in a minute. I had ego the size of the state of Texas as well, right? So we need to be able to be in a position to show respect to people, to make sure that they feel valued, to make sure that we add value to them every day and that we grow them. You know, we talked about developing a vision. Helen Keller wrote that the only worst thing about being blind is having sight and having no vision. We need to be able to develop the vision of where people are going and then their responsibilities in reaching that vision. I think that's very, very important. Number three, we need to be able to show belief in the team and not the profits. If we could be able to invest in the team, if we could be able to grow the team, if we could be able to show the team their value, and then they become engaged and satisfied in their work, and they become productive, that'll take care of profits. Treat your workforce like they're your clients and customers, and then watch how they treat your clients and customers and patients as we go. Next, use the skill of empowerment. It's important that we empower the workforce so they have the ability to make decisions as they need to. We need to be able to break the barriers down and create an environment where employee growth can happen. Number five, show appreciation to people. When's the last time you patted somebody on the back? You know, one of the things that I use as a best practice as I consult with agencies is anytime you have a leadership meeting, before you start in the business of the meeting, the leaders need to bring kudos to the leadership team and say, I'm recognizing Chris Cebollero for his work this week. Then it's that leader's responsibility to write a handwritten note thanking them, but then the other leaders need to go out and find those people and pat them on the back to say, hey, we talked about you in the meeting today. Great job this week. You know, I talked a little bit about ego, and oh my gosh, did I have an ego. I was really kind of using the workforce to grow my career. And it was really a horrible place to be until someone shakes you by the shoulders and say, yeah, it's not really how we treat people. And I was really kind of missing that boat. But this isn't about you. Just like me, I was removed from positions. You can be removed from positions because you are not that valuable that if you treat people like they're disrespectfully or that they don't matter, you can be replaced as easy as anyone else. And then number seven, you know, I had to develop rules to be a good leader. You know, rule number one, never allow your emotions to dictate your actions. This is our last one. How do you think I learned that rule? I allowed my emotions to dictate my actions. When we talk about emotional intelligence, we need to have a high degree of emotional intelligence. You know, servant leadership is a great foundational leadership style to practice. And at the core, you're focusing on serving others. Your job as a leader is to be able to influence and serve the people that we invited into our organization to help us be successful. You know, as a leader, you need to be able to ensure that the way you lead a 20-year employee is not the way you lead a 6-month employee. And you need to be able to grow the skills to do that. I want to thank you for joining me and taking a few minutes here to talk about servant leadership. Remember to become a fan of the Inside EMS podcast with Kelly Grayson and myself. New shows come out every Friday, and we will talk with everyone real soon when we go over the next leadership article.